2 Weng. Another wave of swift aura swept over. Xiao Yan could even feel the 3 types of monarch flames within his body becoming restless, and they seemed to be extremely eager for this aura. Xiao Clan's Golden Emperor Phoenix Heavenly Flame? What's going on? Xiao Yan regained his senses and pondered for a moment. He was still in no hurry to step out of the room. The Golden Emperor Phoenix Heavenly Flame was a flame that belonged to the Xiao clan. Although he was envious of it, he couldn't show it too clearly. Xiao Yan stayed quietly in the room. He didn't stay idle either. Soul energy surged out from between his brows. In an instant, he sensed several terrifying auras sweeping over. He surveyed a place in the inner city. These powerful experts of the Xiao clan were somewhat flustered when they saw the Golden Emperor Phoenix Heavenly Flame wreaking havoc over and over again. After waiting for a while, the aura of the monarch flame still filled the entire inner city. Just as Xiao Yan was wondering whether he should go out or not, the door of the room suddenly opened, and Xiao Yi walked in with a solemn expression on his face. Xiao Yan, the Great Elder invites you in. Looking at Xiao Yan, who was obediently staying in the room, an undetectable sense of relief flashed across Xiao Yi's face, and he said in a deep voice. Nodding his head, Xiao Yan didn't say anything. He and Xiao Yi walked out of the room, and after exiting the mansion, they headed straight to the center of the inner city. The monarch flame has erupted again. Seeing that Xiao Yan didn't speak for a long time, Xiao Yi hesitated for a moment before speaking. Oh, what's going on? Only now did Xiao Yan pretend to be shocked as he looked at Xiao Yi. He was also puzzled as to why the Great Elder would look for him when the heavenly flames of the Golden Emperor Phoenix erupted. When it erupted last time, all the elders in the clan had carefully examined it, but they didn't find anything unusual. In the end, everyone used their techniques to seal the Golden Emperor Phoenix Heavenly Flame into the spatial zone. I didn't expect it to erupt again this time. Xiao Yi was deeply worried and said in a deep voice, many years ago, an elder of the clan had seen a monarch flame that was ranked higher than the Golden Emperor Phoenix Heavenly Flame, but he didn't have such a powerful explosive force. This time, the Golden Emperor Phoenix Heavenly Flame broke through the seal of the formation and came out of the spatial zone. After discussing with a few elders, Grandfather suggested that you come over because you have the monarch flame, which might have a certain suppressive effect on the Golden Emperor Phoenix Heavenly Flame. Xiao Yan's brows twitched when he heard this, and a wisp of excitement surged into his heart. The Chaos Great Monarch Flame had the ability to devour. If he could devour a wisp of the Golden Emperor Phoenix Heavenly Flame's flame without anyone knowing, he might be able to nurture the latter after a few years. Thinking of this, Xiao Yan couldn't help but feel his mouth and tongue go dry. He suppressed the excitement in his heart and nodded slightly. Then, he and Xiao Yi rushed to the place where the Golden Emperor Phoenix Heavenly Flame was sealed. After a short while, the two of them arrived at a black hall. The hall was several hundred meters tall, and it was a magnificent sight. Even so, it was only an inconspicuous place in the inner city of Xiao clan. The kind of qi that Xiao Yan felt was rather deep was emitted from the hall. At this moment, the surroundings of the large hall had already been surrounded by countless of Xiao clan's iron guards. They were like numerous black torrents. The spirit weapon that was tightly clenched in their hands was surging with cold energy, causing the entire space to be filled with a sense of oppression. Under Xiao Yi's lead, Xiao Yan smoothly passed through the layers of iron guards of the Xiao clan and entered the main hall. As soon as he entered the main hall, he saw a huge crystal tower in the middle of the main hall, which went through the entire main hall and reached the top of the hall. There were many people standing around the crystal tower. Among these people were old men and strong middle-aged men. There was also a young woman in a gorgeous dress. All of them were emitting a terrifying aura. Obviously, they were the elders behind the scenes of the Xiao clan. They lived in seclusion in the inner city all year round, and were the strongest trump cards of the Xiao clan. Great Elder, Xiao Yan is here. As soon as they entered the main hall, Xiao Yi strode forward and spoke to the Great Elder who was standing at the front in a soft voice. Xiao Yi's voice caused everyone to regain their senses. All of them turned to look at Xiao Yan, who was standing at the entrance. When they saw the latter, all of their eyes revealed a strange expression. Different expressions were revealed on their faces. Xiao Yan, this time, I hope you can help Xiao clan with something. The Great Elder strode out and said straightforwardly to Xiao Yan. Xiao Yan didn't say anything. He didn't even look at the other elders who were looking at him. Instead, he just looked at the Great Elder. The monarch flame can sense each other. The heavenly flame of the Golden Emperor has gone berserk once again. I hope you can take action and see what exactly has happened. Great Elder pointed at the crystal tower and said in a deep voice. Great Elder, Elder Xiao Huan has already gone down to take a look. Are you still worried about his strength? Before Xiao Yan could say anything, a cold lady in a purple dress turned around and spoke in a cold voice. Xiao Yan raised his head and looked at the girl. She was tall, even taller than him. Her black hair cascaded down like a waterfall, and she had a cold and noble appearance. However, her eyes were filled with the vicissitudes of life, as if she had seen through the world. You can't say that. This little guy has the monarch flame. Compared to Elder Xiao Huan, he should be able to see the changes of the Golden Emperor Phoenix heavenly flame more clearly. Great Elder slightly raised his head and said unhurriedly, the Golden Emperor Phoenix heavenly flame is my clan's monarch flame. Up until now, no one in the clan has been able to absorb it. This little guy actually has the monarch flame. An old man at the side stroked his beard and looked at Xiao Yan, clicking his tongue in wonder. If it wasn't for the fact that the old ancestor obtained the Golden Emperor Phoenix heavenly flame, the Golden Emperor Phoenix heavenly flame would have long been absorbed by the experts of the clan. When he heard this, a yellow-robed middle-aged man sneered with disdain. Stone. Upon hearing this, Xiao Yan was slightly stunned. He instantly recalled the first time he saw the heavenly flame of the Golden Emperor. It was a spirit stone within the sovereign fire source. Swoosh. Suddenly, the space in front of the crystal tower started to wiggle. Then, a short old man with red hair and beard walked out. He wiped the sweat off his forehead and said in a rough voice, the monarch flame is too mysterious. I can't tell what happened. As his voice faded, the faces of all the elders darkened slightly. Xiao Huan's strength was at the top of the direct line elders of Xiao clan. Even the Golden Emperor Phoenix Sky Flame couldn't tell what had happened. Xiao Huan, bring him down to take a look. Seeing Xiao Huan coming out, the great elder smiled and pointed at Xiao Yan. Xiao Huan was stunned when he heard this. He couldn't help but look at Xiao Yan. He blinked his eyes and suddenly smiled. His red hair and beard were trembling. You are that little guy from the Xiao clan of the lower realm who has the monarch flame? Xiao Yan nodded silently and didn't deny it. All right, come with me. Xiao Huan waved his hand. Xiao Yan felt that his body was out of his control as he walked to the former's side. Before the latter could react, Xiao Huan's large hand grabbed Xiao Yan's head. A dense red origin qi wrapped around Xiao Yan. In an instant, Xiao Yan felt that his perception of the outside world had weakened significantly. Let's go. I'll bring you down there to take a look. Xiao Huan laughed loudly. The space behind him trembled in front of everyone's eyes. After which, he disappeared from where he was with Xiao Yan. Seeing the two of them disappear into the hall, the yellow-robed middle-aged man who spoke earlier pursed his lips. Suddenly, he said in a low voice, this guy has the monarch flame. Can we? At this point, the middle-aged man no longer spoke. He just looked at the crowd with a smile that was not a smile, and his eyes were also looking at the great elder, whether intentionally or not. Woo! When they heard the middle-aged man speak, among the many elders present, quite a few of their eyes flickered, muttering to themselves without saying anything. Great elder, what do you think? The yellow-robed middle-aged man's name was Xiao Kun, and he was a direct descendant of the Xiao clan. He possessed formidable strength, and he was currently one of the leaders of the Xiao clan's iron guards in the inner city. This matter, don't mention it again. The great elder's expression was gloomy. He glared at Xiao Kun, and his cold voice resounded in the hall. Under the ground of the hall, led by Xiao Huan, when Xiao Yan opened his eyes, he saw a huge golden phoenix spreading its wings and soaring in the endless dark space. The golden phoenix's eyes seemed to have endless lightning flashing in them, reflecting an indifferent coldness. 2 inches. This is the true form of the Golden Emperor Phoenix heavenly flame. The monarch flame is truly worthy of being called a sacred object of a great world. It is simply seizing the fortune of the heaven and earth. It is simply too powerful. Xiao Huan stood beside Xiao Yan and looked at the huge golden phoenix in front of him, praising it in a low voice. Xiao Yan looked at the golden phoenix in front of him in shock. Currently, there were 3 types of monarch flame in his body. He had seen the true form of the 3 kinds of monarch flame. Refining monarch High Tiantian was a vast ocean. The 3,000 lightning monarch flames were a golden lightning dragon, and the chaos great monarch flame was an endless void. However, this was the first time he had seen a huge golden phoenix like the golden emperor phoenix heavenly flame. Crack! The huge golden phoenix that was temporarily sealed by Xiao Huan let out a loud and clear phoenix cry when it saw the two of them. The phoenix cry seemed to penetrate through layers of space and headed straight for the outside world. Buzz! Xiao Yan's mind suddenly trembled. His consciousness was about to scatter. If it wasn't for the defense of Xiao Huan's origin chi, just this strike was enough to cause his body to explode and die. How can he be so powerful? After recovering from his shock, Xiao Yan looked at the giant golden phoenix in disbelief. The golden emperor phoenix heavenly flame was merely a monarch flame ranked 22nd, but it actually possessed such might. It's not simple, otherwise, the elders of the Xiao clan wouldn't have come out. Upon hearing this, Xiao Huan smiled and looked at the golden phoenix with a serious expression. In order to seal this phoenix, he had used up more than half of his origin chi. There is a strict hierarchy between monarch flames. I heard from the great elder that you have 2 types of monarch flames in your hands. I think you should be able to suppress them. Xiao Huan stroked his red beard and said uncertainly. Let me try. Xiao Yan was also quite curious about the golden emperor phoenix heavenly flame. Although the chaos great monarch flame and the 3,000 lightning monarch flames were ranked at the bottom, Xiao Yan still possessed refining monarch high Tiantian. The combined power of the 3 types of monarch flames wouldn't be much weaker than the golden emperor phoenix heavenly flame. As he spoke, Xiao Yan flipped his palm and a crimson gold flame appeared in his palm. Around the flame, there were traces of lightning. At the center of the flame, a strange blue color quietly emerged. Buzz! The moment Xiao Yan took out the monarch flame, the huge golden phoenix seemed to have sensed something. Its cold eyes suddenly looked at Xiao Yan, and through the layers of space, it stared at the monarch flame in Xiao Yan's hand. In an instant, Xiao Yan felt as if he had been seen through. Something's not right. The heavenly flame of the golden emperor is only ranked 22nd. It isn't much higher than refining monarch high Tianyan. How can it be so terrifying? Xiao Yan's body quivered. He looked at the giant golden phoenix in front of him with surprise. His heart moved. He suddenly looked at the abdomen of the giant golden phoenix. There was a strange light flickering quietly there. That stone, Senior, can you tell what it is? Taking a deep breath, Xiao Yan stared at the belly of the giant golden phoenix and asked in a soft voice. The thing that the old ancestor picked up was something that not many elders in the past could see. How could I possibly discover it? Xiao Huan was stunned for a moment. Then he let out a bitter laugh. He had also suspected that the Golden Emperor Phoenix Heavenly Flame had something to do with this strange rock at the same time, but there was nothing he could do about it. I'm going to unseal it now. If there's anything unusual, tell me immediately. Glancing at Xiao Yan, Xiao Huan didn't have the patience to wait any longer. He told Xiao Yan and then moved his hands. Powerful origin monarch chis rushed out of his 10 fingers like sharp swords and formed a strange formation in the space in front of him. Xiao Yan held his breath and focused his mind. The monarch flames wrapped around his body and carefully sensed the changes in his surroundings. However, for some reason, the former's heart started to palpitate. Swoosh! As the last origin chi surged out, the space in front of him suddenly shattered. The golden giant phoenix's figure became even more lifelike as it appeared in front of Xiao Yan. Every single phoenix feather on the former's body was clearly visible. Hong! The instant the spatial barrier shattered, Xiao Yan's facial expression changed. The monarch flame on his body roared uncontrollably. The giant golden phoenix in front of him raised its head and cried out. The giant golden wings spread out abruptly, like an eagle that had broken free from its restraints. It shot up into the sky along the crystal-like tower. In its abdomen, the originally quiet and flickering light suddenly became brighter and brighter. It was an intense blazing light. It caused Xiao Huan's eyes to light up. Not good. Xiao Huan's expression changed when he saw the giant golden phoenix trying to break free. All the origin chis on his body burst out, stirring up the endless space around him. Through the crystal tower, they turned into countless huge hands that grabbed at the golden phoenix. Screech! The golden phoenix didn't even look at the huge hands that were chasing after it. It only cared about flying upwards. Just as the giant hand was about to grab the former, the spirit stone on the giant golden phoenix's abdomen shot out rays of dazzling lightning, causing the giant hands to shatter. How is this possible? Xiao Huan's expression changed when he saw this. His strength had far exceeded that of an ordinary heavenly sovereign. With just a single strike, he was actually defeated by a few lightning bolts? We can't let this bastard escape. After regaining his senses, Xiao Huan gritted his teeth and grabbed Xiao Yan, who was standing beside him. The space behind him shook, and Xiao Huan took a step forward. The two of them had already disappeared without a trace. Swoosh! In the hall, while many elders were anxiously waiting, a golden light suddenly shot up from the crystal tower in front of them, straight at the top. What's going on? Before everyone could react, Xiao Huan had already appeared in the main hall with Xiao Yan. Seeing the giant golden phoenix rushing towards the top of the hall, Xiao Huan could not help but relax. The main hall was protected by a formation. The top of the hall had an indestructible and powerful formation. Even a heavenly sovereign's all-out attack wouldn't be able to reach the top of the hall. Not to mention this monarch flame. Xiao Yan raised his head and looked at the giant golden phoenix rushing up to the top of the palace in shock. He saw that the light on the phoenix's abdomen was getting brighter and brighter, causing his heart to palpitate even more intensely. For a moment, all the elders present looked at the sky above the crystal tower, waiting for the giant golden phoenix to be struck down by the formation. Crack! Just as the golden giant phoenix was about to touch the roof of the palace, a slight cracking sound was suddenly heard by everyone, as if it was earth-shattering. In the next moment, the top of the ancient hall, which had the history of Xiao clan for countless years, exploded. Screech! After breaking through the roof of the palace, the giant golden phoenix faced the sky and let out a sharp cry. Before the sound could be heard, the giant figure of the former suddenly turned into countless golden lightning bolts and dissipated. In the place where the giant golden phoenix was located, a pitch-black space that penetrated deep into the bone marrow strangely appeared. The formation has been destroyed. How is this possible? All the elders rushed out of the hall. Some of the longtime elders looked at the roof of the hall and spoke in a pained voice. Swoosh swoosh. The pitch-black spatial zone continued to heal. Everyone looked at the spot where the giant golden phoenix had disappeared. Xiao Yan stood in midair and looked at the gradually healing pitch-black spatial zone. A layer of uneasiness suddenly surged in his heart. Rumble. As soon as the pitch-black spatial zone healed, one after another, explosive sounds rang out in the air, as if it was earth-shattering. At the same time, the wind and clouds in the sky were stirred. Boundless clouds were surging crazily, turning into the appearance of a giant phoenix. Natural phenomenon. This is. The great elder was dumbstruck. His eyes stared intently at the center of the clouds. At that spot, a spirit stone had suddenly exploded. A ray of bright light shot out from within. Buzz. The ray of light was like a human figure as it shot out from the spirit stone. Under everyone's gaze, the ray of light dissipated and grew with the wind, revealing a human appearance. At this moment, everyone in the inner city of Xiao clan was looking at this place. The natural phenomenon just now seemed to have grown eyes. It only happened in the sky above the inner city. No one could sense it at all. Xiao Tian? The first elder's eyes paused when he saw the mysterious man who had appeared from the spirit stone. He subconsciously blurted out. As soon as the words left his mouth, it instantly drew the attention of all the elders. Everyone's facial expression changed dramatically. Obviously, they also knew that the old ancestor of Xiao clan had named that mysterious spirit stone Xiao Tian. The thick clouds dispersed, and only now did everyone see the appearance of the mysterious man. The young man had thick black hair that draped over his shoulders, and he had a tall and slender body. He had smooth muscles, and his head was hanging low. It was impossible to see the face of the young man clearly. The old ancestor is indeed far-sighted. There is actually a life form within this spirit stone. Upon seeing the mysterious black-haired young man, the yellow-robed middle-aged man, Xiao Kun, couldn't help but be delighted. Just now, he had tried to use the aura of a monarch cultivation to test the former, but it didn't affect him in the slightest. Obviously, the former wasn't an ordinary person. But what about the Golden Emperor Phoenix Heavenly Flame? Xiao Huan scratched his head and muttered to himself. It should have been absorbed by him, but it doesn't matter. As long as it can be used by the Xiao clan, the Golden Emperor Phoenix Heavenly Flame can be absorbed by anyone. The purple-dressed girl who spoke earlier lightly smiled. Her charming face had a beauty that could topple cities and topple countries. Since it's the name given by the old ancestor, let's call him Xiao Tianyi. I wonder how strong this guy is. Another longtime elder of Xiao clan spoke with a hint of joy in his voice. His strength must be extraordinary to be valued by the old ancestor. In fact, he isn't any weaker than that tyrant heavenly king of Sang clan. An elder beside him spoke with extreme joy. It was truly bizarre to be born from a wondrous rock that had existed for hundreds of thousands of years. It had never been seen in the history of the entire world. This young man named Xiao Tianyi would certainly become the greatest trump card of Xiao clan in the future. While the elders were talking, Xiao Yan and Xiao Yi stood side by side. The latter looked at the young man who didn't make any moves in the air with a surprised expression. Although he had heard the rumors about Xiao Tianyi, he still couldn't believe that a person would jump out of the rock. Compared to Xiao Yi, Xiao Yan was much calmer. His eyes were fixed on Xiao Tianyi. He couldn't even sense any qi from the latter's body. Sun Wukong, who jumped out from the rock. Xiao Yan's heart skipped a beat. He could only smile bitterly. Such a scene was too strange. If he hadn't seen it with his own eyes, he wouldn't have believed it. Why are you not moving? After waiting for a long time, they saw that Xiao Tianyi was still in the same state as before. The elders couldn't help but be stunned. Xiao Kun moved his body, wanting to see what was going on. This was the headquarters of Xiao clan. With so many elders here, he wasn't afraid of any accidents. Kai. Xiao Kun's hand had yet to touch the black-haired young man's body when the latter suddenly raised his head. A trace of an indescribable luster flashed within his pitch-black eyes, and then it flashed and vanished. Replacing it was ice that seemed like it would never melt for 10,000 years. There was nothing unusual about his appearance at all. The only thing that was different from the others was the emotionless indifference on his face. This indifference was far from what everyone had seen before. It was as if he was shuttling back and forth through time. An eternal killing intent. Wang! The black-haired man suddenly widened his eyes. The endless killing intent that was revealed in his eyes caused Xiao Kun's heart to inexplicably turn cold, and his movements paused slightly as well. Taking advantage of this gap, the black-haired man's figure flashed. He seemed to have stepped on a bolt of lightning and disappeared. Oh! Seeing that Xiao Tianyi had disappeared, all the elders present were stunned. For a moment, they had no idea where Xiao Tianyi had gone. There wasn't a trace of qi coming out from Xiao Tianyi's body. Even someone as strong as them couldn't sense it with just their senses. While the others were looking at each other in dismay, the great elder's facial expression suddenly changed. His strength was the strongest amongst them. His mastery of spatial force had already reached perfection. In an instant, he sensed a slight vibration in the spatial zone. Xiao Yan, behind you. When the great elder's voice rang out, Xiao Yan's facial expression changed drastically. Almost subconsciously, his body leaned forward. At the same time, the spatial zone behind him suddenly split open. The black-haired young man silently extended his palm and violently crushed the air in the spatial zone where Xiao Yan was standing. Swoosh! The many elders had already reacted the moment the black-haired young man appeared. In the blink of an eye, they attacked together. Endless origin qis smashed over and shattered the space that the black-haired young man was hiding in, causing him to be unable to hide. This brat is actually well versed in the Tao of space. Looks like his future achievements will be at least at the heavenly sovereign. Looking at the expressionless face of Xiao Tianyi, Xiao Huan slowly descended from the sky and clicked his tongue in wonder. Xiao Yan looked at Xiao Tianyi, who was surrounded by many elders, with a solemn expression. A trace of fear emerged in his heart. What kind of strength did this guy have? Why did he attack him the moment he appeared? He. A strange smile suddenly emerged on Xiao Tianyi's face as he faced the encirclement of the strongest group from the Xiao clan. His cold eyes swept across the many elders. After which, he gently smiled and extended his hand. The origin qi in his hand whistled and transformed into a black robe that wrapped around his body. Seeing Xiao Tianyi's action, including the great elder, what? This guy had adapted to the life of humans so quickly. Leave that person to me. Pointing his finger at Xiao Yan, Xiao Tianyi suddenly spoke in a stiff voice, like numerous sharp blades, stabbing towards the minds of everyone present. He can actually talk. A relatively young elder was slightly stunned. He took a deep breath and his eyes were filled with disbelief. A mysterious man who had just jumped out of the rock could actually speak human language. What kind of monster was this? Even if it was a holy beast with the holy beast bloodline, it would still take a few days of practice before it could speak the human language after it transformed into a human. What are you doing? Hearing this, although the great elder was surprised, he still spoke in a deep voice. What happened today was something that was hard to imagine even in his entire life. When they heard Xiao Tiany's words, everyone, including Xiao Yan, was stunned. He has something good on him. Xiao Tian turned his head around. Facing so many elders, there wasn't the slightest fear on his face, as if he was facing a group of insignificant opponents. It's not difficult to hand him over, but you were picked up by the old ancestor of Xiao clan. He gave you your name and raised you for such a long time. You have to stay in Xiao clan in the future and contribute to Xiao clan. Without waiting for the great elder to speak, the voice of the lady in purple slowly sounded. She looked at Xiao Tian and spoke in a cold voice. The great elder's facial expression changed slightly. Just as he was about to speak, Xiao Tian's cold voice resounded, Xiao clan. Who do you think you are? You want me to help you? You are courting death. Before he finished his words, Xiao Tian's body flashed. With a strange footstep, he dodged the few elders who were blocking him. Then, he suddenly rushed towards Xiao Yan. Arrogant, Xiao Huan immediately became furious. He suddenly attacked. Surging origin chi surged out and turned into a palm that was dozens of feet in size. It violently pressed down on Xiao Tian. In an instant, the origin chi whistled and the space shattered. The strength of the heavenly sovereign expert could be seen from this. Old bastard. Seeing Xiao Huan's attack, a gloomy expression emerged on Xiao Tian's face. With a furious shout, he turned his body in the air and dodged Xiao Huan's attack. You actually managed to dodge it, but let me tell you, this is the inner city of Xiao clan. Even if you're a heavenly sovereign, you can forget about getting out of here. Xiao Huan retracted his hand. His facial expression was cold, and his red beard was fluttering in anger. What a joke! Xiao Tian smiled coldly when he heard this. He glanced at Xiao Yan, and after a moment of hesitation, he didn't attack. He looked at the elders of Xiao clan with a cold gaze, and his cold voice resounded in everyone's ears. I want to leave. No one can stop me. 2 inches such an arrogant tone. Xiao Huan gritted his teeth. Ever since he had advanced to the heavenly sovereign, he had never heard anyone speak to him in such a manner in the Xiao clan. Immediately, he flew into a rage, and his hair and beard were fluttering in the wind. Both of his eyes were extremely red. Little bastard, if you manage to escape, our Xiao clan's reputation will be tarnished. Stop struggling and stay in the Xiao clan obediently. The purple-dressed girl's name was Xiao Qingning. She was one of the longtime elders of the Xiao clan. Although she was very old, she was proficient in the art of retaining youthful looks, which was why she looked so beautiful. The great elder didn't move from where he was standing, but his eyes were still fixed on Xiao Tian. He didn't believe that the strongest combat strength of the Xiao clan was gathered here, and that a little guy who was much weaker than them would be able to escape. Xiao Yan frowned slightly, and his eyes were fixed on Xiao Tian. He couldn't sense any chi from Xiao Tian's body, but he knew very well that if he fought Xiao Tian now, he wouldn't have any chance of winning unless he used the 3-colored Buddha Fury Fire Lotus. The former's strength was beyond his comprehension. Xiao Yi also had a shocked expression on his face. He stared at Xiao Tian in a daze, but he couldn't believe that a living man would emerge from the spirit stone that was even older than the oldest elder in his family. After listening to Xiao Huan and Desolate Qingning's words, Xiao Tian just kept sneering. His eyes were shining with a strange light, as if he was planning something. Elder Xiao Huan, that kid is very strange. Xiao Kun stepped forward. He spoke in a low voice beside Xiao Huan. Right now, he still had lingering fears. With his strength and state of mind, he actually felt a chill all over his body when Xiao Tian's cold gaze took a fancy to him. It doesn't matter how strange he is. Just stay in the Xiao clan obediently. Xiao Huan coldly harumphed. His hot temper also rose. Without inviting the great elder, he waved his sleeve and pressed down like a layer of clouds that blotted out the sky. It seemed like it had turned into a spatial zone, trapping Xiao Tian within. Arg! Xiao Tian furiously roared. He suddenly raised both of his arms. It was as if he had lifted up the blue sky. The origin chis all over his body roared and shattered. He had actually forcefully blocked Xiao Huan's attack, causing the latter's attack to be unable to take another step forward. Tisk tisk, being able to withstand the attack of the heavenly sovereign expert when he was just born, my ancestor's eyesight is truly amazing. On the side, the other elders were calm and composed as they whispered to each other regarding whether Xiao Tianyi could escape or not. They were naturally very confident in their abilities, but seeing the latter's performance, they were still shocked. This fellow, if we nurture him well, he will surely become one of the trump cards of Xiao clan in the future. The other elder's eyes were filled with joy. He was now incomparably certain of Xiao Tianyi's future. The great elder quietly stood aside and stroked his beard. He didn't speak a word. He just looked at Xiao Tianyi, who was roaring furiously. A strange look flashed across his eyes. He was even more curious about Xiao Tianyi's origin. Rumble Xiao Huan stepped into the sky and pressed down with one hand. The powerful origin qi was like a huge mountain, fiercely pressing down on Xiao Tianyi's body. The latter roared furiously and stretched out both arms, supporting the source energy. His back stood straight, like a dragon vein that pierced through the blue sky, not giving in at all. I'll give you two choices now. One is to obediently put your hands down and be willing to do it for the Xiao clan. 2. Elder Xiao Huan will capture you and use a forbidden technique to seal your mind, making you a disciple of the Xiao clan. Choose one. Seeing Xiao Tianyi being suppressed, Xiao Kun was delighted in his heart. He stepped forward and said coldly. Hearing this, the great elder's facial expression changed slightly. He frowned and looked at Xiao Kun. With a glance. This guy indeed still grasped that kind of evil art. What a joke! Xiao Tianyi's brows were cold as a blood color gradually surged into his eyes. Due to him exerting force, traces of blood had already appeared at the corner of his mouth. A faint fiendish aura also spread from his body. This fellow is so strong. He is actually able to withstand the attacks of the elders. Xiao Yi came to Xiao Yan's side. In his tone, what? Compared to Mu Yuyang, Lin Dao and the others, this Xiao Tianyi was much stronger. He should have at least reached the Emperor cultivation. Xiao Yan thought for a while, then he whispered to himself. Emperor cultivation. I'm afraid that's not all. Elder Xiao Huan has almost reached the peak of the heavenly sovereign. With just a casual strike, even an ordinary monarch cultivation wouldn't be able to withstand it. How could an emperor cultivation? Xiao Yi's face twitched when he heard this. He took a cold breath and said. Xiao Yan remained silent. He looked at Xiao Tianyi, who was slowly bending over, and could only sigh. No matter how heaven-defying this guy was, there was only one way to defeat him in the headquarters of Xiao clan. Thinking of this, Xiao Yan tensed up. His eyes swept across the elders of the Xiao clan without leaving any trace. He finally remembered that entering the inner city of the Xiao clan with the monarch flame was no different than giving away the treasure. If there was an elder who attacked him in secret, with his current strength, he wouldn't be able to resist at all. I have to leave this place as soon as possible. Xiao Yan narrowed his eyes and pursed his lips. He pursed his lips. Although the great elder was speaking up for him, he still needed the great elder's strength to make him feel at ease. What do you think? I can make you wish you were dead by myself. Just stop. Standing in the air, Xiao Huan's voice was like thunder as he looked down at Xiao Tianyi. HMPH. Xiao Tianyi's smile was ferocious. Suddenly, he laughed out loud. His cold voice suddenly sounded above the entire inner city of Xiao clan, Xiao clan. Good, good, good. Sooner or later, I will slaughter all of them. After he finished speaking, Xiao Tianyi suddenly spat out a mouthful of black blood. The blood floated in the air and quietly rose into the air. It transformed into a dark red phoenix the size of a man. The huge wings of the phoenix flapped and quickly wrapped around the former. In the next moment, the space behind him silently split open and swallowed him, disappearing from where he stood. How is this possible? There is a formation in the inner city. How could he escape through the space? All heavenly sovereign-level elders, enter the space and search. We must capture Xiao Tianyi. Xiao Huan was shocked when he saw this, and he immediately shouted out loudly. His body flashed, and he tore the spatial zone apart, disappearing from the scene. With Xiao Huan's order, nearly 10 elders flew out from the group of elders. All of them tore apart the space in front of them and entered the space in front of them. The strength of these people had reached the heavenly sovereign, and they were the top trump cards of the Xiao clan. Great Elder. The other monarch cultivation elders looked at the great elder in the distance, not knowing what to do. We can't let him escape. No matter if he's alone or being used by other major powers, he will be a great enemy of Xiao clan. At this point, the Great Elder didn't have the time to feel pity. He gave the order with a solemn expression. Everyone, immediately rush to the outer city of Xiao clan and investigate all the spatial zones in the outer city. Once you see Xiao Tianyi, immediately attack him, regardless of whether he lives or dies. After receiving the order from the Great Elder, all the elders nodded their heads in agreement. With a flash of his body, all of them rushed towards the main hall of the outer city. With their strength, they would have to rely on the transportation array to get out of the inner city. They couldn't simply tear open the space like the Heavenly Sovereign Expert did. The spatial confinement of the inner city had a limit to outsiders. He didn't have any pressure on the elders of the Xiao clan. Swoosh, swoosh. While the elders were moving, a pair of iron guards of the Xiao clan, led by their respective captains, rushed towards the teleportation hall like a black torrent. Their mission was to serve as the eyes and ears of the Xiao clan and monitor the entire Xiao city. Xiao Tianyi. He actually managed to get out of the Xiao clan. Truly amazing. Xiao Yan stood quietly on the spot, watching the departing elders. He was secretly amazed in his heart. When he thought of the terrifying strength of the former, a trace of unnatural excitement surged in the depths of his eyes. In just a short period of time, all the elders in the inner city had left. The iron guards of Xiao clan, who were like a black torrent, followed closely behind. Soon, only Xiao Yan, Xiao Yi, and the Great Elder were left. "Grandfather, why aren't you going?" Xiao Yi came back to his senses and looked at the Great Elder. There were no more elders present. He felt relieved. Almost all the elders of Xiao clan have joined the fight. If we can't even catch Xiao Tianyi, it will be useless for me to help. The Great Elder's expression was solemn. He slowly spoke. After saying that, he raised his head and looked at the hall beside him. He gritted his teeth and said, "Damn it. The Golden Emperor Phoenix Heavenly Flame was also absorbed by him and taken away. The old ancestor should have already noticed that the Spirit Stone is not ordinary. That fellow actually has such formidable strength." Xiao Yi landed beside the Great Elder with a similarly heavy gaze. He had already known about the origin of the Spirit Stone. Since it was related to the legendary old ancestor of Xiao clan, it was no longer as sensational as before. That's right. Even a heavenly sovereign can't escape from the formation of the Xiao clan. If this guy runs away, who knows what he will do? At this moment, the Great Elder felt a chill run down his spine. The Spirit Stone that the old ancestor brought back, was it good or bad to the Xiao clan? The entire Taiching Mansion domain is vast, and the people of the Xiao clan are everywhere. No matter how powerful Xiao Tianyi is, he wouldn't be able to leave the Taiching Mansion even if he shuttled through the spatial zone. Furthermore, Elder Xiao Huan has already made his move. I don't think Xiao Tianyi will be able to leave this place. Xiao Yi's heart sank slightly, but he still spoke. Hey, speaking of which, Xiao Tianyi is the same generation as old ancestor Xiao Tianqing. 1,000,000 years have passed, and this guy has actually come out without any warning. After letting out a long sigh, the Great Elder had no intention of staying any longer. He glanced at the silent Xiao Yan and said, "All of you can go back now. Don't get involved in this matter. Xiao Tianyi's strength is much stronger than all of you." After saying that, the Great Elder waved his sleeve. The space in front of him was torn apart and swallowed him up. The inner city was the most tightly guarded base camp of the Xiao clan. Hence, it was naturally very orderly. Even though such a major incident had occurred just now, it did not cause the slightest chaos in the city. Xiao Yi was silent for a long time after seeing the disappearance of the Great Elder. He suddenly looked at Xiao Yan. The latter was looking in the direction of the outer city in a daze, as if he was thinking about something. "Mr. Xiao, from now on, you and I will have one more mortal enemy. I am a member of Xiao clan. You have the monarch flame that Xiao Tianyi wants. My life in the future won't be so easy." Xiao Yi suddenly grinned and said somewhat helplessly. They had witnessed Xiao Tianyi's ability with their own eyes. He was already able to quietly travel through space. Just based on this point, if they wanted to wait for Xiao Yan or him, the former would most likely succeed. Xiao Yan had clearly thought of this point. He smiled helplessly and did not say anything. However, a layer of heaviness had vaguely appeared in his heart. He had only reacted at the last moment when Xiao Tianyi attacked him just now. Moreover, If he were to really fight with Xiao Tianyi at this moment, the best outcome would be that he would be killed. The latter was seriously injured. Xiao Yan clenched his teeth tightly when he thought of this. The fist in his sleeve was tightly clenched. This kind of gap in strength was really difficult to accept. After returning to his previous residence with Xiao Yi, Xiao Yan shook his head and forced the matter of Xiao Tianyi out of his mind. The most important thing right now was to quickly master the Starlight Silent Step. After that, whether it was in a battle or to save his life, it would bring him immeasurable benefits. Although Lei Ying and Yan Jin didn't know what had happened in the main hall, they could clearly feel the qi of the heavenly sovereign expert. When they saw Xiao Yan's return, they couldn't wait to ask him about it. Under their disbelief, Xiao Yan told them everything he knew. The outer city of Xiao Clan was the closest place to the main camp of Xiao Clan. There was no doubt that the number of people here had reached a terrifying level. As far as the eye could see, the spacious road was crowded with people, and it was bustling with noise. There were people from the outer prefecture who came here because of their reputations. Some of them were disciples of the declining Xiao Clan, and some of them were outsiders who tried to spy on the Xiao Clan. Under the patrolling of the Xiao Clan's iron guards, the security here. It was also very orderly. Swoosh! Suddenly, several powerful auras swept across the sky above the outer city. They instantly attracted the attention of some experts. Immediately, they locked onto these auras. They were trying to find out where these auras were headed. Among these people, it did not matter if there were spies from other tribes, or their strength. They were no weaker than some elders of the Xiao Clan, which was why they came here in an obscure manner. They were also not discovered by these elders. Did you notice? It's not only those monarch cultivation elders who passed by just now, the surrounding space. In a luxurious restaurant, two ordinary-looking middle-aged men were sitting opposite each other. In front of them were 2 pots of wine and a few dishes. They looked no different from ordinary people. One of the men's eyes sparkled as he spoke to the man in gray opposite of him. He, it has been so many years. This is the first time that all the elders of Xiao Clan have moved out together. Something must have happened in the inner city. The man in gray drank the wine in his cup and smiled faintly. However, there was a trace of wild excitement in his smile. No matter what happens, as long as it is harmful to the Xiao Clan, it will be a good thing for the Thundercloud Clan. The man who spoke earlier also smiled and nodded. Suddenly, his expression changed and his eyes narrowed. After a while, he laughed and said in a low voice, "The Xiao Clan's iron guards of Xiao City have also started to move. It seems like there is an 80 to 90% chance that something has happened in the inner city. These elders are starting to panic. Humph, it's best if a few of them die." The man in gray took a bite of the side dish and did not care about it at all. However, there was a flash of light in the depths of his eyes. His aura followed the elders of the Xiao Clan. Boom! Thousands of miles away from the outer city of the Xiao Clan, in a wilderness. The space was suddenly torn apart, and Xiao Tianyi rolled out from it. In the next moment, the space behind him exploded, and it was quietly destroyed. Can you escape? The space not far away trembled slightly, and a few pitch-black spatial cracks appeared. 8 elders of the Xiao Clan, led by Xiao Huan, walked out from the spatial zone. They stepped in the air, and the former's voice was like thunder as he furiously shouted. 8 Heavenly Sovereign. HMPH. Xiao Tianyi looked coldly at Xiao Huan and the other 8 elders. He wiped the dark red blood from the corner of his mouth, but his facial expression didn't change at all. Xiao Tianyi, surrender now. Serve the Xiao Clan and you will be exempt from the death penalty. Besides Xiao Huan, a hunchbacked old man with a white beard and a chest spoke coldly. His strength was at the top of the Xiao Clan, but it was far from the level of Xiao Huan. A bunch of old fools, they really think too highly of themselves. Xiao Tianyi shook his head and let out a disdainful sneer. In the next moment, the golden flame on his body shot up into the sky. It turned into a 300-meter-long phoenix, which looked up at the sky and let out a sharp cry. As the flaming wings flapped, countless flaming birds flew towards Xiao Huan. At the same time, the group of people rushed towards Xiao Huan. Xiao Tianyi spat out another mouthful of blood. His body turned into 2, then into 4. However, in just a breath's time, 8 Xiao Tianyi had already appeared. Swoosh! As the space shook, all 8 Xiao Tianyi disappeared into the space. Xiao Huan's eyes were wide open as he unleashed his majestic qi. In an instant, countless fiery birds were scattered, and he let out a furious roar. Once again, he tore open the spatial zone and moved forward. The other elders followed closely behind him. If Xiao Tianyi were to escape in front of them, their faces would surely be filled with shame. However, they didn't know where to put his face. People of Xiao clan, just you wait. A moment after Xiao Huan and the others left, a spatial zone trembled slightly. Xiao Tianyi appeared on the spot with a pale face. He looked in the direction where Xiao Huan and the others had left, and his eyes were filled with endless anger. After sneering a few times, he disappeared without a trace once again.